All right, Brittany, Caleb, Christy, and Novia, let's go ahead and get started today. Welcome to our last class for this week. It's Thursday, June 9th, and I welcome you all. I hope you're all having a good afternoon and that you'll all have a good evening and enjoy your weekend after your Friday. So I wanted to open up. Does anybody have any questions? All right, well, hearing none. Today, I thought we'd kind of take it easy on the heavy stuff and go over something that I know we did the video on visual displays and everything, but we need to do some work on that. But also, I wanted to go over today the idea of crosstabs, especially when you're using nominal or categorical data. And so that's kind of what I want to go over today. And this will prepare you for the two assignments that I do, I believe, on the 19th, which the way things are going, I'm pretty sure we'll probably have some class time today left over to work on those assignments. So you'll have some time for that, okay? And since it's only the three of us, we only have about a third of everyone here. So we'll do this recording and then we'll let you guys go and have a wonderful weekend. So what is crosstabs? Crosstabs is when you have, I'm going to start using the word nominal data to describe what is called categorical data. So you remember categorical data is that data that has a distinct quality. It's not numerical, it's not measured, it's a category. And that's also what nominal, meaning one variable, means, okay? And what it does is you can take two nominal data. Yes, Brittany, definitely. You can have two nominal data and you want to see if they're kind of related with each other or how much of one is accounted for the other. So how many men and women, let's say, join a health club or not. Okay, that's an example of where you'd want to do a crosstabs and associate memberships, no memberships with male, female. Okay, but let me show you how this is going to work. I'm going to actually use a different data set than what you're using for your assignments. I'm going to use the suicide rates for 2014, 2015, and 2016 in the state of Montana. This data has been washed, so there's no personal identifying information. But the thing that I like about this data set is it is all categorical / nominal data, so it makes it really good to do crosstabs. So let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to be using a statistical software. I'm going to use a statistical software called Spss. It's a software that's often used in the social sciences and area, and it kind of gives you a flavor of this type of software. So I'm going to save some bandwidth, shut off my video. I'm going to share my screen. All right. So I'm going to bring up this data set, and just to kind of go over this first, this is the data file, okay? And when we go here, this looks a lot like Excel, Google Sheets, those types of things, where your columns represent a variable. So we have age, death year, age year. We have race. What is this one? Race, whether American Indian or not, more breakdown of race. And then you have here again, education attainment. State is always going to be Montana. You can have the counties. Okay, this is one view. The other view is variable view. And this is where you can see, and you can see the labels. You can see what type of variable it is. So if we go over these, so we have the main ones that are used are numerical data, but when it comes down here to string, that's where you're going to be restricted because it's considered non-usable, okay? And if we look at the measurements over here, scale means that it is pure continuous, meaning that it has a true 0 point. Ordinal data is data that mimics continuous data, but it's more on the line. It doesn't have a true 0 point. So it's one of those that are on that, what we call that Likert scale, from dislike to like and those types of things. And nominal is our categorical data. So this is how these are defined in here, okay? So let's go down again to data view and let's look at a crosstab. Let's say I was interested in whether or not relationship status had anything to do with the suicide and the person's gender. And there's no hypotheses about this. This is just going to be a very, very simple crosstabs that I'm going to show you how to do. So in SPSS, if we go to analyze and we go to descriptive statistics, and we go to crosstabs, okay, we have rows and columns that are going to be tabbed together. So we said sex for one and marital status for the other. Okay. Now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put this cluster chart because it's very helpful in looking at this. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to select statistics. I'm going to, what am I going to ask for? I'm going to ask for a chi-square. And that's all I'm going to ask for right there. Okay. And then cells, oh, I should go back and explain this. Chi-square is a non-parametric method that tells the probability that we obtained our findings from error or not, and whether or not our findings would apply to the broader population, in this case, the broader population of people living in Montana. Okay, so that's what the chi-square is. Okay, I'll hit continue. In cells, what I want to do is I want percentages and I want observed cases only. Okay. And so I'm going to do percentages for my rows and total. Now you necessarily don't need to do this for your homework unless you feel like you need it to interpret, but I'll show you what it does for you. Okay. Continue. So I'm going to hit OK, and this is where we're going to come up with our display. All right. So this is a crosstabs table. Okay. And we have marital status on the column. So we have divorced, married, including separated, not stated, singled, or widowed. Okay. So this is our columns. In our rows, we have females and males, and then I did call for a total column. Okay. So what can we interpret from this? We know that females. So if we look at, okay, so to explain these percentages, so the count, we can see that we'll just take this first row as an example, this divorced row, okay? We can see that females, when we compare, there were 33 females and 118 males that were divorced and ended up ending their life, okay? Within sex means what percentage of females are divorced. It's 28.9. How many of the males were divorced at the time? It was 26.8, okay? Now comparing, and this is where on here we get this 100% over here, okay? Because we add 28, 33, 1.8, 31, 4.41, that gives us our 100%, okay? For males, we can see of males, 26.6, 26.8, a quarter of them were divorced. And then a percent within marital status, so this is comparing females to males, of females and males that completed their suicide, 78% were male, okay? And again, if we come down here on our within column, it should always come up with 100%, okay? For the between column, if we add this 20.6% and this 79.4%, we get 100%, okay? And so if we look at our total of men and women combined, 27.3 were divorced. This is the combined total, okay? If we look at these down columns, this percentage here just gives us the whole entire percentage down the column, okay? All right. Now, I mentioned that chi-square test, so I'm going to bring it up right now, okay? So the chi-square gives us a value of 1.50, and for now, don't think about this too much, this value. What this value is going to determine is our p-value, which is this right here, this asymptotic significance, two-tailed, okay? Okay, remember when we said scientifically that we only think of things statistically significant to a population if the p-value is under 0.05, okay? So now we have a p-value of 0.825, which means, so this is what this means, according to the chi-square, there is no significant, statistically significant difference between females and males within the population. We can clearly see that there's some discrepancies within the sample. You know, we have this 21% being female and 78% being male, right? And there's a little difference within women. There seems to be more men who are married in our sample that are divorced than women. But when we try to exploit this to the population, the probability is really low that these numbers actually represent what's going on in the population. So these numbers can only represent those individuals who completed a suicide between 2014 and 2016. So I mentioned a bar graph, okay? So we can see this is just based on count. If we did a bar graph on percentages, it'd even these two things out, but we can see that married tend to be the most, single, then divorced for males and females. You can see that these patterns are very similar with each other if you really look at them closely, okay? So I'm going to give you all just a few minutes to look at this table. And what I would like you to do in the chat is put something that you recognize in this data as something that is, how do I put this? That you feel is important. And what I'm asking for is just a short 1 or 2 sentence interpretation of this table, okay? Meaning, you know, from what you see, differences between males and females is blank. So answer that question in the chat. So I'll put it in there so that everybody has it. So complete this sentence in the chat. And I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to really look at the data and really take a look at it. And then we'll go from there. So 5 minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Go for it. So you're all doing excellent in interpreting the table. So what I'd like you to do is answer the second question, which is based on this table, provide 2 or 3 research questions you would want to investigate based on your exploration of this table. Give you about 2 more minutes to think of something. All right, so let's go on. So you all did really good with being able to read this and go through it. I want to bring up another crosstab because I think it's important to recognize that these are, we have to recognize the limits of the data that we have. And so let's do whether or not someone is Native American or not, whether they had a reported thing. And let's just do sex again. Well, let's do sex, okay? Because I want to keep it simple. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Now, oh, wait, I did it wrong. I did the same one. Sorry about that, everyone. So there we go. This one's simpler. Okay. All right. So my question for you is, you can see that the Native American percentage for both females and males is lower than the rate for males. Okay. So here we have yes, American Indian, Alaskan Native, and no. Okay. So my question for you this is, interpreting this data, what is the missing piece in interpreting this data? And I'll give you a hint. The reason I started with this crosstabs is because the rates of female male in the state of Montana are about 50-50. So there's 50% female and roughly 50% male currently. There's a couple more percentages of females, but we're talking like 3 or 4. But tell me, when interpreting this one, what's the problem that we're going to run into when we're interpreting this crosstab? Which one do you need, Brittany? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Yes. Any guesses? Remember, I want you to think beyond the data set and what's missing.
Can you go back to the actual data?
Yes.
Thank you.
There you go.
This is just a yes and no data that's been set up.
Yeah. Yeah. So these represent individuals who have completed.
I think this is that one where you were talking about yesterday that we're going to be studying the, oh, I can't remember the name of it now. But on the first one that you showed, there's more people that were participating, divorced, married, and single, not stated single widow. But here it's just a yes and no in total.
Okay. And Brittany, we can look at races specifically. Okay. Let me take you through this. And this is just a small lesson on the limitations of data. If you were just to look at this crosstab, you would assume that in the state of Montana, that suicide is largely a non-Native American issue, because we have, we have it's there, right? We have 33 males and 7 females, but that's spread over 3 years, right? But let me give you another statistic that might put this into light. In the state of Montana, Native Americans only represent 6.5% of the population. All right. And so this 107 and 407, okay, this represents, what is it, 93.5% of the population. You get me, Brittany? Okay, thank you. You get where I'm heading with this? So if we talk about suicide rates in the state of Montana, just using these statistics, we really can't. If we were to say what communities have the highest rate of suicide, we can't answer that question with this table, okay? Because this table only compares people who have completed. It doesn't include the rest of the Montana population that has not completed or has never attempted, okay? So when we adjust the rate, exactly, Christy, when we adjust the rate, we will find that this percentage, this 17.5, will actually far exceed this 20.8 for females, and same with males. Okay, so that's one of the things that I always want you to think about when you're looking at data like this, and this is important, is you have to know where the data came from and what its limitations are. Because the limitation of this just tells us that we can't say anything about population or comparisons between it because we haven't adjusted it for the population rate. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so that's crosstabs. So yes, a bit, okay. Okay, all right. So that's crosstabs and how it works. And so I want to take us to our classroom. And let's see, we have, let's see, I think we had a few more show up. Sharon. All right, so your assignments, you have 2. Okay, they're going to use both the same data set. And so let's go over the data display assignment. And again, use this code sheet if you need to know what the variables are and remember their limitations. Okay, and what I'd like you to do is don't do the whole entire thing, just select like the first 15 cases, okay? And I want you to do 2 different type of graphs, whether it be a pie graph and a line graph, or a pie graph and a bar graph, whatever 2 combination you want to do, using a sample of 15. And after you have generated your two graphs, what I want you to do is, one, I want you to interpret your graph. And two, I want you to answer which graph do you think displays the data the more to be more understandable and interpretable, and why. Okay, so that's the first assignment. The second assignment is I'd like you to use that same data set. And again, select two variables that you're interested in. So, and then using one of the methods, either by hand, and I put instructions for Excel, Google, and R via YouTube demonstration in the course. And under course lectures, under crosstabs section. And again, I just want you to do 15 cases. Okay, so it's not a large one. And then submit your assignment. I should have put in here, oh, we need to edit this. Always want you to do this. So I want you to interpret your results. What do you see? And then give a research question. Okay. And so if we go to the modules, just so everybody can see, and I'll put it on student view, okay, is the information I put it right down here. So here's how to do crosstabs in Excel, how to do with Google Sheets, with R, and by hand. And then I'll put the lecture right here as well. And then here are the two assignments in the assignment section. Okay. All right. So I'll ask, does anybody have any questions at this moment? Not yet. Okay. All right. So what I would like you to do is go ahead and spend the rest of the class time working on those assignments. And then if you have any questions, feel free to either email me through the classroom, or you can send me a remind message if you have any questions. Okay, does that sound good? Okay. All right. All right. So go work on that for the remainder of the class. If you have any questions, you remind at me or email me through the Canvas, and I'll be able to get right back to you because they're all both on my phone. And then please have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves and be safe. Okay.